Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to speak into the, do I have to start over? Sorry, everyone, I forgot to turn on my mic. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Directors regular meeting for December 7th, 2021. And it is 6:04. And then we'll start with Director Waspy. Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
States of
America
America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under
under
God.
God.
We'll start with Director Waspy. Was that an echo? Madam Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Yes, President Rosario. Director Waspy,
Here.
Director Eccles. Director Wieskamp,
Here.
Director Lane,
Here.
Director Corbett,
Here.
Director Coffey,
Here.
President Rosario,
Here.
General Manager Landreth,
Here.
Deputy General Manager Alvarez,
Present.
District Council Victor, CFO AGM Ocker,
Present.
AGM Chief Chioboro,
Present.
AGM Kelchner, AGM Johnson,
Here.
AGM O'Connor,
Here.
AGM Cook, Eric Fueler, Chief of Legislative and Government Affairs.
Here.
Staff is present, Director Rosario.
Great, thank you. And I'm remiss, I would like to do land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that we are on ancestral territory of the Huichin Ohlone. The occupied lands currently stewarded by the East Bay Regional Park District fall within the territories of a diverse and resilient group of Ohlone people who are descended from some 25 ancestral tribes. Please join us in honoring with gratitude, both for the land itself and the people who have been its stewards since time immemorial and who continue to remain deeply connected to it today. Thank you. Board of Directors has everyone had an opportunity to see the agenda? And if so, a motion is in order for approval.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please. Yes.
Director Wieskamp,
Here.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
President Rosario.
Aye,
Unanimously approved.
thank you. And do we have any public comments?
Yes, President Rosario, we have 7 members of the public that are interested in commenting. Please keep yourself on, please stop your video until I call on you. I'm going to start with Mr. Travis Turner. And I do not see you, Mr. Turner. So let's move. Barbara Smith. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, directors and everyone. My name is Barbara Smith. I'm a coach with the Wildcat Middle School mountain bike team. I've volunteered taking kids into the outdoors for over 30 years, and I find mountain biking to be really magic for kids in that it is both fun and challenging in a way that makes young people really enjoy and want to be out in nature. Because it's fun and because it's pandemic friendly, youth mountain biking continues to grow. Local youth bike teams have become major users of Tilden and Wildcat parks. with 330 youth and coaches riding the trails multiple times a week. My purpose here today is to seek your support for a new mountain bike trail in Wildcat Canyon. Over 2,000 people have signed a petition urging the board to encourage staff to begin a study of a proposal to develop a bike-only trail, a trail known to mountain bikers as a flow trail because it flows down the hill rather than running directly down. A flow trail in a little used area of Wildcat Canyon on a grassland hillside. A new bike-only flow trail would bring easy access for nearby underserved communities. It would be a magnet for youth to spend time outdoors. It would be a fun venue that would focus bike use away from crowded multi-use trails, and so improve the trail experience for all users. And it would have minimal environmental impact because the area is already heavily impacted by grazing cattle. We proposed this trail concept to the Park District a year ago, and in the past year, Park staff have done a preliminary assessment and have found no major issues in the area proposed. Another plus is that we have commitments for funding and for volunteer labor from the biking community to both build and maintain the trail. I truly believe this new bike-specific trail is a win-win for all. It would increase access for youth to our parklands, improve trail experiences for all users, and have minimal impact on both park budgets and the environment. I thank you for all that you do to support our wonderful parks, and we hope to have your support on this endeavor.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Our next speaker is Linda Kong.
Hello all. I go to Albany High School and I am 17 years old. I am the captain and one of 15 members of Albany High School mountain biking team. I was drawn to mountain biking because I have been fascinated by bikes, what I can do on a bike, and the sense of community with other bikers and how friendly everyone treats each other. I ride with my team and on my own around Tilden and Wildcat Canyon around twice a week. And some of the challenges that our team faces are our ride options. We have limited riding locations that we can go on school days with the early sunsets, but also with only around 2.5 miles of single track trails open to mountain biking in Tilden and Wildcat Canyon. We can ride them in about 15 to 20 minutes, and this can get repetitive and can bring discouragement to the teams that do ride in these areas often. And it has also been difficult sharing trails with hikers because there might be conflict between them and riders, even though we follow rules and stay courteous. When we encounter riders, we would go slow and try to make friendly interactions with them. I would love to see a new mountain biking only flow trail built in Wildcat Canyon because it would give us an exciting and fun trail, which would make mountain biking community more excited to come to Wildcat Canyon in the future. And this trail would give us a place to ride where we wouldn't have to worry about hikers. And most importantly, we would not need to get into any conflict. I would like to thank the EBRPD for staying open during the pandemic. And I would also like to say thank you to the board members for spending so much time guiding our regional parks during this tough time. And finally, thank you for this board session.
Thank you, Ms. Kong. Our next speaker is Nola Da Silva Graves.
Hi, I'm Nola. I am 12 years old and I ride with El Cerrito Junior mountain biking team. I started last year at the beginning of the season and it was amazing. During the height of COVID, I was able to still get out in nature in a different way than I usually would. Mountain biking is a great way for youth to go and learn and care about nature. Creating a new flow trail gives more space for young bikers. Adding the new trail will help more people learn about the parks and how amazing they are. I would like to also thank the board members for keeping the parks open during shelter in place.
Thank you so much, Mr. Graves. Our next speaker is Axel Rodriguez. Axel?
Yes, can you hear
There
me?
you. Uh-huh.
Hi, my name is Axel Rodriguez. I'm a senior at Berkeley High School, and I'm on the mountain bike team. The reason I mountain bike is because I'm able to connect with a really fun community of people and be outdoors in nature. With the mountain bike team, we have a really large group of riders for Berkeley High, and as a result, it's difficult to get everybody riding on weekdays because of the short time that we have to do so. As a result, we're often just going to Tilden and Wildcat. So the addition of a flow trail would really be beneficial to the community. Additionally, we try to be as courteous as possible. We ride slowly by hikers and try and make conversation with them. However, sometimes there's still some negative interactions. And I think a flow trail that is meant for mountain bikers would really help benefit that situation and make it better. Yeah, that's it. And I'd like to thank the board for everything that they've done during the pandemic to keep the parks open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Our next speaker is Kate Flowers. Ms. Flowers.
Hi, hi board members and everyone. My name is Kate Flowers and I'm a senior at El Cerrito High School. I've been a member of the El Cerrito High School mountain biking team for about 2 years, and I'm one of the student co-captains. I was drawn to mountain biking because of the supportive community, and once I started riding, the feeling of accomplishment after going down those like really hard rock sections. I constantly find new and interesting adventures while biking, like naming cows and seeing wildlife all over Tilden. And finding the little hidden corners of Tilden make the team's 3 rides a week in Tilden and Wildcat Canyon more interesting and fun. There are many people enjoying the park, which is wonderful. And like the smell of eucalyptus trees, but also it causes a lot of tension because of the limited trail space available to mountain bikers and hikers, even though that we're really courteous to everyone that we see. As much as I love riding in Tilden, it can get really repetitive because of the limited amount of trails. And we spend at least 6 hours a week riding in the area, and we have little options in terms of like the narrower trails, which are more challenging and fun, but there's not a lot of trails open like that for mountain bikers. I believe that building the proposed mountain biking only flow trail in Wildcat Canyon would solve a lot of these problems. Bikers would have more variety of trails as well as a safe space because there are no hikers. And the flow trails are really fun. They're fun to ride, and they could get a lot of more kids on bikes as well. I think the addition would be helpful to the mountain biking in the park community as well, because there'd be more space for everyone to enjoy the outdoors. And building the trail could bring the mountain biking community together and help like all the young people like me leave an impact on the trails and the park. And then thank you for the board for maintaining Tilden Park, because it's just a huge part of my life, and for considering the mountain biking flow trail.
Thank you, Ms. Flowers. Our next speaker is Peter Mangarella. Sorry for butchering your name. I know you're here because I talked to you earlier. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. My name is Peter Mangarella. I live at 663 Cleveland Street in Oakland. I'm speaking on behalf of Trout Unlimited regarding the Jewel Lake Restoration Project. I'm the conservation chair of the local East Bay chapter, and Trout Unlimited is a national organization whose mission is to bring together diverse interests to care for and recover streams and rivers so our children can experience the joy of wild and native trout and salmon. We have been actively working with the Wildcat San Pablo Creeks Council to restore and reconnect the lower Wildcat Creek watershed. We've been instrumental in obtaining grant funds from the Department of Water Resources and the California Fish Passage Forum to redesign a malfunctioning fish ladder in North Richmond which in its present state is a fish passage barrier. Our long-term goal is to restore the Steelhead Run in Wildcat Creek, and having a healthy, sustainable resident trout population in the upper watershed is key. So we're very pleased that 2 of the 4 concepts being considered in the Jewel Lake Restoration Project include provisions for fish passage. On December 1st, we emailed a comment letter to the clerk of the board, and we now wish to take this opportunity to speak to the board directly. Concept 3 calls for removal of the dam and restoration of the creek to its original alignment. This concept completely reconnects this reach of stream in terms of flow, sediment transport, and water quality, and is ideal from the point of view of providing for fish passage. All the water that flows from the watershed upstream of this location would flow through the reach. The stream would evolve in response to precipitation and runoff, and would ideally support the kind of structure, pools, meanders, etc., that would provide good spawning and rearing habitat for trout. Trout Unlimited strongly endorses Concept 3. We also recognize, however, that Jewel Lake is a popular destination and affords visitors the opportunity to view wildlife in an attractive setting. Concept 4 provides fish passage by constructing a bypass channel around the lake and installing a diversion structure that would direct low flows into Jewel Lake. High flows would be directed into the bypass channel. Since more sediment is carried with higher flows, this would reduce the rate at which the lake would fill up with sediment. There are 2 potential problems with this concept. 1, diverting low flows into the lake will also divert trout into the
I
lake.
thought I was.
And the lake,
My name's up there.
shall I continue? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you have about 30 seconds left.
Oh, well, okay.
The board did receive your letter.
Okay, both of these impacts could be mitigated if the diversion was used only when the lake is required to fill. Otherwise, the diversion could be closed and the lake and stream would be isolated from each other. This would have the effect of reducing the diversion of trout into the lake while increasing flows in the bypass channel. So in summary, Trout Unlimited strongly endorses Concept 3, and if the board decides it prefers Concept 4, we hope the board may consider our suggestions. Thank you for this opportunity to make this presentation. We look forward to continued cooperation with the district in protecting and restoring the resident trout population in Wildcat Creek.
Thank you, sir. I see Travis Turner has come into the meeting. Travis, you have 3 minutes to speak, sir.
Okay, thank you, and my
You're welcome.
apologies for being late.
That's okay.
So, hi, my name is Travis Turner, and I'm a park ranger with the East Bay Regional Park District, and I wanted to thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight. I have heard from many of my coworkers and felt it necessary to be able to voice my own opinion to you, the board. I was surprised when the district took the stance on the COVID shot and opted to not give the option of weekly testing for those who did not wish to get the COVID shot. I am concerned with the constant news of ever-changing COVID variants that we will also be required to receive more unwanted shots in the near and distant future. If the governing body recommended shots and/or weekly testing, I'm asking this. Why was this option not provided to the employees that that you oversee? I do understand the importance of the choice. I understand the importance of the requirement for the initial shot. I do understand the safety of others and everybody is extremely important. I also understand the need to keep a company functioning at its peak capacity. The district has always been a place of options and values. I feel at this point in time, the district may have walked away from its main path. The open-mindedness of the district is what drew me to apply initially, and I do not plan on leaving the district. This is a full-time career for myself. I do hope that we can possibly look at the policies and possibly move forward with different options. Again, I thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Just two quick questions. I see Meadow Darcy and Rochelle Lorenz. Were you guys coming in to comment on an item that is not on the agenda?
No, I'm commenting on the agenda items.
Okay. Could you tell me which one that is, please?
Sure. Item K, as well as item number 3.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Rachel or Rochelle Lorenz? Is it Rachel or Rochelle? I apologize. Lorenz? Okay, we will keep moving. That is all the public comments, Director Rosario.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate all the comments from the public speakers today. We will take, the board will consider all those questions. And now, item C, we have a special presentation. And let's see. I believe all the directors have a, we would like we have a proclamation of appreciation, which we want to present to our outgoing district council. And I would like, do the directors offline have copies of the resolution?
No, President Rosario, they
Okay.
do not. That's why it's on the screen.
Okay, what we can do is, what I'd like to do is start off with our new general manager, Sabrina Landreth. I'd like to read this whole, we will take turns reading the whereases. And so.
How are you gonna do it?
You haven't seen this yet, have you?
No. Just wait, just 1 second, General Manager. We're trying to fix the, there we go.
Okay,
Oh my
so we'll
goodness.
just go down the line.
Okay, that's good. One more, Sharon. Can you read that, General Manager?
Great.
Yes, okay, we're ready.
All right, this is a proclamation of appreciation presented to Carol Victor upon her retirement as District Council for the East Bay Regional Park District. Whereas Carol R. Victor has over 25 years of experience as an attorney representing and advising local government agencies on a wide range of municipal law issues. She has a heralded background as an undergraduate major in humanities and international affairs from Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service, followed by a California State Senate Fellowship, where she worked on the Senate's Local Government Committee, sparking her future career path. She continued her formal education by receiving her JD from UC Hastings College of Law and
Yes.
No, I should have been able to read the UC Hastings College of Law. It's part of our camaraderie is being Hastings grads. And whereas, yes, after 15 years providing exemplary legal direction as district counsel and previously as assistant district counsel, overseeing the legal and risk management division at EBRPD, Carol will retire on December 31, 2021. And
whereas through Carol's sound leadership and strong ethical conviction to uphold the highest standards of transparent public law, she has led to successful resolution hundreds of park district legal issues, many that have created new legal precedent in environmental and land use governance. And
whereas Carol's legal efforts have led to greater public access to EBRPD's 125,000 acres of regional open spaces, 1,250 miles of trails, and 55 miles of shoreline. And
whereas some of the Park District's most significant legal achievements under Carol's direction include: 1, the effort to preserve Neptune Point at Robert W. Crown Memorial State Beach to expand Crab Cove, preventing its sale by the federal government to a housing developer. Do you want me to do all of them?
Let's continue on. Sabrina, go back.
So do you want to include those of us who are not there or?
Do you guys have?
Yeah, they can.
Okay, if you can read it.
It's on the screen.
Great. Let's start with
We
Director
could read it,
Wieskamp.
but it is a little small, I will say.
Oh, but it's readable.
Okay, Director Wieskamp, and then,
Okay, you want me to start with 2?
yes, please.
Holding the Costco Bazan cargo ship financially accountable for the significant environmental impacts to fish, wildlife, and EBRPD shoreline caused by its oil spill in San Francisco Bay.
Director Lane.
The California Court of Appeals upholding the Park District's wildfire hazard reduction and resource management plan after a 10-year CEQA challenge.
Director Corbett.
We're on number 4. The favorable jury verdict in the Golden Gate Land Holdings eminent domain case for the expansion of the Albany Bay Restoration Project.
Deputy General Manager Alvarez, would you like to read number 5?
Thank you. The California Supreme Court's decision, which interpreted a key section of Public Resources Code, section 5500, and contained its, in this sentence, the oldest and most developed district and the one envisioned by the authors of the original legislation in 1993 is the East Bay Regional Park District.
AGM Kelchner. Number 6, please. CFO Deborah Ocker.
Scroll up, Sharon.
Number 7.
Number 7, the passage of AB 5959, which gives East Bay Regional Park District additional powers to abate public nuisance such as encroachments.
AGM O'Connor.
Whereas Carol has been a valued member of EBRPD's executive team and a great mentor to her peers and employees alike, and
AGM Cook.
Has injected so much.
And then Chief Gourjian. And last but not least, Chief Chiburo.
Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Directors of the East Bay Regional Park District takes great pride in Carol Victor's illustrious legal career at the East Bay Regional Park District and thanks her for her extraordinary efforts to lead and represent this organization's legal governance. We wish her the best in her retirement.
I'll just say a few words. Thank you to the Board of Directors, to Ted Radosevich, who hired me, Bob Doyle, who promoted me, the great attorneys I've worked with, Christina, Jason, and Rachel, our extraordinary paralegal, Becky, a really talented risk manager, Nana Fong, and Alma, and the great staff in risk. I'm going to miss someone and it's going to be an accident, but Sean, Janet, Deborah, and Paul Ferrario. And it's been an incredible team. I'm so proud of this agency. I'm at a loss for words. You have a great team. I think you have a great future with the leadership of our new general manager. And what I said to the board before my retirement letter was that you allowed me to grow into this position. And that was an incredible gift. And thank you. Thank you for all the trust and confidence you've shown in me. I'm quite proud. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm glad, I wish we had a couple more whereases because I wanted everyone to participate, but because I think you've touched everybody here in this room and beyond. And I have a
oh, how lovely
proclamation for you that I'd like to give.
We'll say this photograph on this picture, you can see my hair color was brunette at the time. And this was also my very first board meeting as district council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have you for a couple more weeks, I think. Thank you all. And so with that, we have, we are now at item D. Oh, let's see. Let's first let the people know that we've already had public comments, but anybody else? We want to, I'm at a loss of words now.
No, we don't have any more public comments. We're going to move to item D1, executive. and
Okay,
legislative
great.
division. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just need a little direction. Thank you. So item D1A, resolution recognizing the March 4th, 2020 proclamation of a state of emergency by Governor Newsom and authorizing remote teleconferencing meetings of the legislative bodies of the East Bay Regional Park District for a 30-day period pursuant Brown Act provisions as permitted by AB 36. District Council.
Yes, we're recommending that the board pass this resolution pursuant to AB 361. The board has to adopt the resolution every 30 days, finding there's a continuing emergency that authorizes the board to meet remotely.
Thank you. Discussion or questions by the board? Seeing none, a motion is in order.
So move.
Move Director Wieskamp. Is there a second? Director Waspy. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, President Rosario. Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
President Rosario.
Aye.
So
Unanimous.
moved.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And now item 2, consent calendar. Do we have any?
Well, we did have comments. You did have several questions that were answered. I believe every single one of them were answered, but I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review them, review your answers.
I've gotten all my answers.
yours,
Thank
okay.
you. Any other directors have outstanding questions?
I'm happy to make the motion.
We do have a couple of.
We still have a couple of public comments.
Oh, pardon me.
I just want to make sure all the directors had their questions answered. Director Wieskamp, I see your hand is up.
No, not me.
Nope. I see I see a hand in your corner of your screen there.
If there's a hand, it's a ghost behind me.
Okay. Okay, let's go to any public comments?
Yes, President Rosario. Chris Newey has a comment on 3 items. Item B, which is authorization to adopt an amendment to the East Bay Regional Park District salary schedule. Item K, and also Meadow Darcy has a comment on this one. Authorization to transfer and appropriate funds to the repaved South County Corporation Yard project. And Chris Newey has a comment on item R, which is authorization to execute an on-call contract for structural pest control. Tessa Nichols, excuse me, has a comment on item I, the Civicor item. Authorization to renew contract for youth employment services with Civicor 2022. So I can take them in order.
Yes, please.
Yes, they'll be each 3 minutes. Chris Newey, since you have 3 different items, please just comment on all 3.
Thank you,
I'll give
Yolanda.
3 minutes on each.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Please let us know which one you're going to comment on.
Sure. I'll start with, I guess, item B. The authorization to adopt and amend the East Bay Regional Park District salary schedule. President Rosario, Board of Directors, General Manager Landreth, Chris Newey, President of AFSCME Local 2428. I just wanted to take the time to say how much I appreciate the district leadership in formally advancing the district's ability to pay competitive wages and compete in the labor market. You know, I'm sure everyone's read in the news about all of the struggles with, you know, hiring and retaining employees. And I think this will help advance the district's ability to compete. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Next is on item K, the authorization to transfer and appropriate funds to repave South County Corporation. Pretty much every board of directors meeting that I've attended recently, it seems like there's another paving contract. This is another $747,000 going into the district paving program to run contracts. AFSCME 2428 has brought this up, I think, on numerous occasions that, you know, someone should really be running some kind of analysis on the district's paving program to see if, you know, having an additional crew or additional staff to be maintaining the district's pavement in-house, at least some of it would be appropriate. And, you know, to this day, we're still unaware of any of that analysis being performed. And with, you know, the district spending millions of dollars every year, it's really something that should be looked at. Then my last item is, I can't actually see the letter on my printed page, it got smudged, but it's the authorization to execute the on-call contract for structural pest control for all of the park district. So on this item, I think this is, if the district tracks the hours that this company performs to perform the IPM, the pest management throughout the district, I think this will provide really great data that, you know, in the next couple of years could be used to determine if this would make more sense to have these tasks be performed in-house. You know, for if $300,000 doesn't make it through the 3 years or get spent, you know, in the first 2 years, AFSCME, I think, would strongly suggest hiring someone permanent to be performing these duties in-house. But with this contract to go up to, I think will be good to get the data to make those decisions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Meadow, Darcy, if you could comment on item K, repave South County. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, President Rosario and members of the board. My name is Meadow Darcy. I'm the Chief Steward of AFSCME Local 2428. I am also commenting on item K. I am going to repeat my comments that I made at the Board Finance Committee. I continue, as well as Chris, to bring up these items whenever there's job contracts, which is job order contracting, for work that seems to be work that could be done with internal staff or by hiring additional staff. I'm not talking about one-off increase in work, but I'm talking about repetitive work that happens again and again every year for very large dollar amounts that at some point with some analysis, I think would justify the hiring of union workers. So we continue to have concerns about the use of outside contractors for work that could be done by union workers with union wages and health benefits. One example is paving contracts. We have a roads and trails crew that can do this work, and we spent millions every year to complete this paving. It doesn't seem to be a mechanism to review these contracts to ensure that the repetitive nature of the work would justify hiring more staff to complete the work at fair union wages and benefits. We request that the board direct management to review contracts that occur year after year and determine if the work is done in a more cost-effective manner and using existing staff. I have brought this up several times, and it seems like when I do bring it up, the response I get from the board is that they can't comment on it. And I'm not quite sure why I keep getting that response, because I wait until the item is actually on the agenda to make the comment. And then I don't get a response, and I don't get a follow-up response. So I am specifically asking that the board direct management to please look into this. I have specifically spoken on this at least 4 or 5 times. And it sounds like Chris has been doing the same at the board meetings. So again, as I said at Board Finance, I don't think this is an intentional thing that is happening within management. I think it's simply work needs to get done. We have a mechanism to contract out. It's fast and easy. We go ahead and do it. But I do think that the net effect is that we are over time losing money, quality, and quality of work, quality of the workforce, and also time in which we could spend developing employees instead of contracting this work out. So that is my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Our last speaker is Tessa Nicholas. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, President Rosario, Board of Directors, and General Manager Landreth. My name's Tessa Nicholas. I'm the Executive Director at Civicor, your local state certified conservation corps. And I just want to thank you in advance for approving renewal of the EBRPD Civicor contract for what I believe is the 38th year. We're just incredibly grateful to be your long-term partner in conservation while providing space to train and support 18 to 26-year-olds in the East Bay, all while exposing them to their local parks and exciting new career paths. Most recently, they just finished a project working with Doc Quack out at MLK Shoreline, and we're just incredibly proud of helping the habitat for the snowy plover, something that none of them thought they would ever be doing. And now you have inspired new conservationists. We do see ourselves at Civicor as being at the intersection of economic, social, and climate justice. And without partners like EBRPD, we would not be able to connect our young people, 99% of whom are low-income youth of color, with the paid job training, the wraparound support services, and the connection to the conservation careers they fall in love with and wish to pursue. We look forward to growing our partnership. We invite you to come out and visit a project and meet corps members. And I just want to take this quick moment to thank you again for your continued support. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. President Rosario, that's the last speaker on public comment. I mean, on the consent calendar. Excuse me.
Director Wasson.
Yeah, thank you. I would just like to make a comment on item F, the acceptance of a bid for the award of a contract for printing district brochures. First off, I'd like to say Dakota Press, I love them. We've had them for a number of years. I think they just get better and better every year. They are a certified green business. They're a certified minority-owned business. They do a wonderful job. Their brochures get better and better. The maps are incredibly accurate. The graphics and the photos are beautiful. I take a lot of people hiking in the park, and I take new people and take them to the parks. I always say, get a brochure, look at it, and they go, oh, it's a map. And they go, no. And then they always go, I'm going to take this home. And I say, definitely take it home and enjoy it. But I don't think, I think there are other folks like me who've been there a million times. Is there a chance that we would consider putting QR codes on posts? And everybody knows what that is, right? I don't. I just learned you scan your phone and you get a map. But I don't think it would hurt Dakota Press in any way because I don't want to do that. But I think it would just give park users a choice.
Good evening, Carol Johnson, Assistant General Manager, Public Affairs. Thanks for the question, Director at WASB. QR codes are popular, and for those that don't know what they are, it's a little indicia that usually is put on some sort of a publication or a piece of paper or something that you can use your smartphone and download the information that you're looking for. I will have to see, we haven't researched that to see if the QR codes could actually be embedded as a disc or something in one of our posts, in a trail post. We will look into that. I don't have any knowledge of any other agencies doing that, but certainly it is important for people to be able to get information in any way that they're interested. And we have been trying for years to wean people off of paper, but that has not been as successful as we might have hoped. We still have a number of parks especially that are going through printed brochures and documents very rapidly. So looking for ways to print QR codes is a great idea.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing down here, anything on the screen? I have a couple. I just found there's one question I didn't get an answer to, and that also refers to item K. Are we still looking for an alternative site for South County? The equipment shop there. I know in the original, when we were searching for public safety, I think we were tying not only public safety, but also the equipment shop. And I was wondering if we were still looking for an alternative site for the equipment shop.
Evening, President Rosario, members of the board, Jim O'Connor, Assistant General Manager of Operations. I'll do my best to attempt that answer that question. What we have done is, you know, the history of this, that originally it was tied to our search for a new public safety headquarters. At this point, what we've been doing is doing some interim improvements to the South County equipment shop to make it more functional for staff to maintain the larger equipment, which has been the issue up there. So we've done several of these, including the item that's on the agenda today to do the repaving, which will do some concrete work out in front of the shop, which will allow for us to use the portable lifts and do some work out in the front of that shop. So, and this is just my opinion, I think we've done improvements which have extended the service life of the South County equipment shop. But we're an expanding park district. Over time, we are going to have to seek a new location as our fleet expands, as we have more heavy equipment and more fleet vehicles to maintain. So at some point in the future, we are going to have to reconsider that project. Right now, it's on the inactive project list, but I think at some point we are going to have to take another look at that.
Okay, great, thank you. And then also, this also ties in with the questions from 2428, because I brought the same thing up in writing here, is that and regarding the feasibility of expanding the roads and trails crew, it would be nice to see an analysis to see what the capabilities of the crew is now, and possibility of what's the cost of expanding that crew, because with that particular crew, especially based out of Pacheco, when they have to work in South County, they spend more time on the road than they do actually working. So at some point, I think it's something we should be looking at as far as expanding that crew, have a South County or Alameda County as you look at it. And I think it's a reasonable request that 228 has expressed in having an analysis of see how much of that work could actually be done in-house. I think there's plenty of data, but I don't know, you guys. But I think we've gotten verbal assurances from staff, but I think it'd be nice to see something on paper with data, how much is done, and based on what the crew is doing now.
Jim O'Connor again, Assistant General Manager Operations. Without extending the answer to this, because we could go on for a whole meeting on this one. But I'm in agreement on your points about the travel time is a real issue for our Roads and Trails crew. And I'm not sure if you've received the answer that I provided to this question in writing, but one of the things that we all have to consider is that the Roads and Trail crew does much more than paving district-wide. One of their more important jobs is district-wide trail grading that we do every year, which is a huge portion of not only public access, but also fuels management and providing fire access for if we do have a wildland fire. So that's a huge part of their job. They also play a critical role in what we call our trails, creeks, and ponds, which does a lot of work in terms of managing water, culverts, those kinds of things district-wide. And that's a huge portion of their work also. So they do more than just paving work. And the real challenge we have here is that all of this work has to happen within a very narrow construction window every year. So the biggest challenge is I am in agreement. I think you have heard me say that I think we do need a second crew, but even with a second crew, we're still going to be pressed to get all this work done within the narrow construction window. So most likely we would still need to do some contract work because we also have technical abilities that may be beyond our crew and just the volume of staffing that's required to do some of this work. So I will talk with General Manager Landreth regarding your request for information, but just keep that all in mind. And then finally, the thing I always tell everybody is that adding staff means adding equipment and adding space. So all of that has to come into play in these decisions.
Yeah. If we could see those numbers and what that entails, I think that would help. So thank you so much. Any other questions or comments from the board? Let me check my screen here. Director Corbett, do you have any? I can't see. So do you have any comments?
I do I'm happy to make the motion, but I'm also very happy to hear the questions and the information you have asked for and Mr. O'Connor's ability to put together some data to get us the information we need so we can address some of the concerns that were raised this evening. So I appreciate that. And with that, if there's no other comments, I'll happily make the motion on this item. Thank you.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on approval of the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Vice President Rosario, Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
President Rosario.
Aye.
The consent calendar is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oops. My thing around. Okay, that brings us to item number 3, Executive and Legislative Division. First public hearing of our budget. Welcome, Deborah.
Good evening. I think we're going to start with a few words from our general manager as we introduce this 2022 proposed annual budget.
Great, thank you, Deborah. I will be very brief because I know we want to get to the substance of the evening here with the budget presentation, but I know that most of the board has had an opportunity to already preview this budget presentation and ask some questions. But I really also, I want to take a minute here to really acknowledge the staff, both in our finance department, but really everyone who put in a tremendous amount of effort to put this document together. No one ever realizes how much work it really takes behind the scenes and how many months of really tireless work it takes to put together a document of this kind. And this is my first budget here. And I've been really impressed by the quality of the work and just the camaraderie and problem solving of the whole team to come to this product that we have in front of you today. So with that, thank you to you, Deborah, personally. It's been a lot of long nights and we will get you there. We're almost there. But just tremendous work and looking forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, and good evening to the Board of Directors and the staff and the members of the public. So as we mentioned, I'm Deborah Ocker. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Finance and Management Services and the CFO. And we do have a great budget team at the district. So we have joining us online, we have Deborah Spalding and Christina Crosby, along with the executive team that's definitely part of the process. So today during our presentation, I'm going to go over budget highlights, a district-wide overview of the budget, and then details by division. As the general manager mentioned, a lot of you have seen the presentation that went over a lot of the performance goals. So I'm going to save that for the adoption meeting, and we have some new information, a little more details to cover for you today. And then we'll talk a little bit about our multi-year project budget. Next slide, Matthew. So just to go over some budget highlights here, we are focused on the goals of the district. And as you all know, we have grown, we've had a lot of new visitors. And so we are focusing on adding staff, certainly adding staff for our new parklands that will be opening in the new year. We're looking at opening the Brickyard Cove, the Western Hills open space area that will be donated to the district, the new Tyler Ranch staging area at Pleasanton Hill, at Pleasanton Ridge. And then also just noticing that we do need additional staff throughout the district, and I'll go into details about that later. Next slide. Our fuels management program is a very important initiative of the district. The fire department is really the ones that manage and focus on wildfire reduction and having safe and healthy forests, along with the stewardship team. Here in the budget, we're increasing our staff for our fuels crew by 3 members. We're adding a fuels reduction coordinator, and in stewardship, we're adding an ecological services coordinator. Also, the budget includes $1.2 million of general fund that is going towards this program, along with the grants that the district receives. We've been very successful in receiving FEMA grants and also getting some appropriations from the state, which we're waiting to be finalized. Next slide. We're also we're confirming and making permanent our pilot program for our small trails crew. It's been very successful over the last couple of years. And so this budget is recommending putting in permanent staffing and resources to continue this program as part of the base budget. Next slide. Also, as the district grows, we have a need for equipment innovations. And so here we're recommending a swing shift at the Tilden Corporation Yard Equipment Shop. They'll be able to help maintain timely maintenance of our equipment. And the picture is the end of the vac truck that we purchased a few years ago that's helping with an irrigation project. So operations is excited to see that picture in the budget. Next slide. Also, stewardship has a lot of regulatory requirements, and there's additional funds for wildlife and habitat protection, water quality monitoring, and management. Next slide. Also, growing the Del Val Visitor Center and that whole south west area of the district by adding a new interpretive sector, which will also allow for additional services out of that visitor center. So those are some of the highlights that are included in the budget. I'm going to briefly just go over the budget process. We start the budget process early in the year with board workshops. We have 5 of those during the year where we listen to board member interests. Then we go ahead and As we put together the budget, we start with our current level of service every year, and then based on our revenue projections, we determine how much we can grow. This year, we had a strong revenue forecast, and also with our new general manager, we're implementing a few new best practices into our budget. One is just really stretching our revenue forecast and really trying to hit our targets a little bit closer. So as we put together the budget and identify the different needs, then we draft out the budget and we come to the board finance committee a couple of times. We came in October. Also, we came in November. The budget was actually available to all the public and all the board members on our website on November 22nd with the board finance committee packet. And we also presented to the Park Advisory Committee in November. We had an all-staff meeting. Here we are today for our first public hearing, and we'll be back for our adoption in 2 weeks. Next slide. As we do develop the budget, we use our budget balancing principles, which are based on, just taking from the master plan and the mission statement. Next slide. And as we develop the budget documents in 2 volumes, and it's broken down into the general manager's message, which also includes the details of a performance plan. We have a budget overview, division summaries, projects and programs. And as you know from the past, this is a proposed draft budget. So we have little things that we update as we put together the adopted budget. So some of the introductory areas are not quite completed, but they're going to be updated before we publish the adopted. And this photo was just fascinating to me as I was gathering photos, just kind of shows, the ants can really, I don't know, it just makes me feel like we're small but mighty. So this is new innovations. It's called a, Jim, what is it called? A wheelbarrow?
It's a powered wheelbarrow.
A powered wheelbarrow. And the Trails crew, as they're building a bridge, use this to go down the narrow path. So I had to put that in the presentation, just to mix it up a little bit. So now just looking at the district-wide budget, right? We have grown. There's about 12% growth from the prior year. And if you can recall, last year we were in the middle of COVID. So we were very conservative. We did not, we were in a lot of economic uncertainty. So having growth from our prior year budget is understandable. Next slide. We do have a balanced budget. Our resources are $268 million district-wide. Our taxes and assessments are going up by about 14 million, the majority of that being general discretionary property taxes. Fees and charges had really dropped. Remember, we lost $7 million over COVID. We're bringing those budgets back up to the pre-pandemic amounts and hoping that camping and facility rentals and concessions are all back to normal. In our contracts and leases are about the same. Interest is down a little bit from this year's budget just because of the market and the Fed keeping interest rates low. So, and then in transfer, sometimes that's confusing. These are resources that are also coming into different funds, and they include almost 13 million of our WW local grant money going into that program. So that's part of what those transfers are. Also 1.4 of debt service and 20 million of projects that are kind of coming out of the funds that we already have on hand. Next slide. So here's a pie just showing that property tax is our greatest revenue source. Next slide. This just drills down a little bit more. And overall taxes are growing by 8.2%, but that's a 7% increase in our regular property tax. When we look at the fees, as I mentioned, those are park fees, concession fees, and other services that we charge. Property is maybe communication sites on our properties, grazing leases, security residences. And then under interest, as I said, that's down a little bit, also includes funding from the foundation. And this year, in that miscellaneous revenue is where we're tracking our use of our pension trust. So I'll talk about that a little bit more, but for the first time, we're going to use some of the pension trust funds that were set into place for smoothing of rates. Okay, so now let's talk about appropriations. So here we have our operating general fund budget. Projects budget is increasing. That's another area where we're changing a little bit of our practice. We're trying to put more into the annual budget process. So you might have noticed there's a lot of maintenance projects that are listed in there. We went over the details at the Finance Committee, but that's something new. Internal services, also, we're trying to fund our infrastructure fund at the recommended levels, where in the past we've kind of waited for mid-year. We're trying to wrap that into this. And then we have our special revenues and debt service. So next slide. Here you can see personnel cost is our greatest slice of the pie, and that's not unusual. We are a service organization. I think if you were to look at some other organizations, their personnel cost really absorbs even more of their resources. Here we're growing by 7%. It's about a $10 million increase from the last year's budget, and that includes lots of new positions, and I'll go over the details of that. 36.8 new full-time equivalents. And we've also, as a best practice, implemented a 4% vacancy rate into these budgets for the first time. And so I think that is something that other organizations have done. It will help us again to hit our targets on our budgets and not have as much savings at the end of the year. Next slide. When we do talk about authorized positions or authorized full-time equivalents, we're up to 925 FTEs. So we've been growing. And this year we are fortunate to add additional FTEs. Some of them are for the new park openings, or what we call the pipeline. So we're adding 5.6 for the new park openings. And then also we have a program where we've been taking the 9-monthers and converting them to 12-monthers. Our parks are full year-round parks now. And so we have 9 conversions. Next slide. In our new positions that we're adding, 22.8 of those are for the operations team, 8 for public safety, 2.5 for acquisition, stewardship, and development, 1 for finance and management services, 1.5 for HR, and 2 for legal. And I'll be able to give you the details of that. Here we have kind of the history of how we've been able to add. And Director Lane always says, you know, as we grow in acreage, we also are growing in our parks. But recently we've seen as we grow in users, we need to grow in our parks. And you can see during the pandemic, we really held and we didn't add very many positions. So we're making up for that a little bit this year. So now I'm going to just go through and talk about our division summaries, and I'll go through it quickly. At the end, you can stop and ask me questions, but since it is a large budget, I just want to give you the highlights. So next slide. Here, yeah, we have in our organizational chart, we started off with our executive and legislative division, which let's see, is the general manager's office. And also it would include a direct, well, never mind. I'm going to go to this slide now, sorry. Here we had, in the past, we had our human resources department as part of executive and legislative. And we've now grown, our human resources department is grown and they are their own division. So we've pulled that out. And I think in the documentation, you might see, we still have a little bit of fixing to make sure we show the history of the human resources department. So we'll get that cleaned up, but they're their own division now. No new staff in this division. Go to the next slide. And then here in the budgets of the executive and legislative division, we are adding $200,000 for strategic planning district-wide. We're continuing our DEI work, and we're also continuing our community survey work. In our goals, we're completing our redistricting process, and we're reviewing our board operating guidelines. We're going to add that to our performance goals and updating our internal agenda management process. Next slide. ASD, a very large division in the district. Here we did a little reorganizing in the last couple of years where we have our environmental programs as part of design and construction. We moved our trails in with planning and GIS. And here we have some additional staffing, as I mentioned, an ecological services coordinator that will help to serve the fuels management and grazing programs, a management analyst, and a 0.5 wildlife biologist, which is funded 50% by Measure FF, and then this will complete that FTE. Next slide. In the ASD budget, we have $500,000 for land acquisition from general funds, which is in addition to all of the bond funds that we have available to us under Measure WW. We also have a trail feasibility study included in there. Many of the maintenance projects are in the ASD budget. And some of their goals for the year is to open the Shadow Cliffs Interpretive Pavilion, work on the restoration and public access for the Roddy Ranch Golf Course, the McKay Master Plan, and other areas in stewardship and the ecological health assessment. Next division. Finance and Management Services. We're asking to add 1 payroll specialist to the division. Next slide. And then in our proposed budget here, we're requesting a technology master plan, funding for that, funding for capital projects, reporting improvements, and many other technology upgrades. It seems like nowadays everything is based on technology. So throughout all the divisions, there's some kind of new technology and innovation included in their budgets. Next slide. Our Human Resources Department are adding 1.5 senior HR analysts. I think on one of the pages, we're going to have to make an edit where we only had it listed as an HR analyst. It's truly a senior HR analyst. So we're making that correction in the book. And those positions will cover benefits, the American Disabilities Act work, and equity work. Next slide. Also, the HR department has additional funding for compliance requirements and maybe working with risk to take on some of those duties that had historically been part of the risk department. Also, other technology and policy work is going to be done out of the HR department. Next slide. The legal division, you can see up there, we're retitling Carol Victor's position to be general counsel. And that will be reporting directly to the board of directors in this new budget for the organizational structure. It will still be over the legal department and the risk management department. And we're requesting an additional district counsel, assistant district counsel position and a risk department and management analyst. Next slide. Here we, in our risk management department, we do have increases in our insurance premiums. Those are reflected in here, but also safety and training and compliance work. Also, the legal budget has historically had the environmental remediation for the gun club. So we continue to fund that and work on that project. I'm getting close to the end. Operations. Okay, so here is where we're adding a good deal of staffing. So for park operations, we're adding 12.25. 9 of those are upgrades. In the Interp and Rec department, 4 FTEs, which will serve that interpretive sector out at Del Val, some outdoor recreation, and some other naturalist staff. In the mass department, we're upgrading a plumbing mechanic. The small trails crew has staffing involved in there, with one of the staff being a placeholder as we confirm what position that should be. The swing shift for Tilden, a sanitation and recycling coordinator, and also one other change from your proposed budget is there's listed a placeholder was a administrative analyst, but we're going to request that be a contract encroachment supervisor position. So that's one edit to the proposed budget that we're recommending. Next slide. On the expenditure side, we have new park budgets for these new parks that are opening. We have equipment replacement and security improvements, hazardous tree removal, improvements to the Shoreline Center, upgrades to the residence program. And then some of their other goals include, like I said, technology efficiencies, working on our zero waste action plan, and drought and irrigation program improvements. Those are operations goals in a nutshell. Public Affairs created an archive unit, but did not have any proposed new staff. Next slide. In their budget, we're providing funding for community outreach, really focused on our equity framework. The kiosks outside of the Del Val Visitor Center will be included in their budget, continued oral histories, and website upgrades. And they do continue to upgrade our maps and communications. In the public safety division, we do have new fuels reduction coordinator, as I mentioned, 3 new fuels crew members, 2 police services technicians, and a support services supervisor. And their budget is very focused on keeping technology up to date and equipment up to date. Their motto is safety, service, and stewardship. And so keeping their radios, air unit, employee safety. I mentioned their fuels management program and community engagement. So those are the division summaries. We're good.
Wow.
I'm going to just quickly go over a few in volume 2 of the document, which is our projects and programs. And so here, if you go to the next slide, we have broken up the book so you can see capital projects, and then programs are grouped together. Next slide. Overall, when you look at our whole over $350 million multi-year budgets, you can see that they're broken down pretty well with infrastructure, land acquisition, public access projects, resource enhancement. So we're fairly balanced in what we have going on out there. In funded status. And then just some of the highlights of what is in the budget, new funding for the different programs. And then also we're going and adding funding for some of the projects. And again, we do have a few little tweaks that we need to make in a few areas, but we'll just highlight a few. Out at Carquinez Strait, we're working on a better access to the pier. So we have that in there. We also have some work at Burrell. We're going to start doing some pre-design at our donated site, Pleasanton Ridge. We're going to construct some new trails out there, but also I mentioned the Tyler Ranch staging area, which is in construction. The Garms staging area was a question by a board member, which won't start until after Tyler. So it won't really happen until 2025. And then we are also just highlighting the service yards, which we're currently working on the Coyote Hill service yard, and then we'll work on Point Pinole. I think I was out of order, wasn't I? I'm going to blame it on Matthew. There's the Burrell project. Was that the last one? And then Point Pinole service yard. So yeah, there was a question by a board member about Deer Valley. And I think in our project description, we may have referenced that we were doing a project near the Roddy Home Ranch, but it's really the golf course. So we're going to make that correction. And also there were a few other areas where we're making sure that the numbers add up properly, but the totals in the budget are right. Some of the individual sheets will have a few edits done to them. So we're here today to have answer any questions that you might have and open the public hearing. And as I mentioned, we'll be back in the next meeting in December.
Okay, great.
Thank
Just a quick regarding the slide on Carquinez Strait. I think straight is spelled wrong.
Thank you.
Hey, that was a test.
Good, very good.
Let's see, how would we like to proceed? I mean, I'm sure all the directors have questions, and those are all my questions on the.
We did receive written questions by several board members, and we appreciate that. And we've tried to get back to you as soon as possible with those questions. We still have a few outstanding, but we do have a team of people here to answer any questions that you might have today.
Great. I think we'll just start with. I think. Do people want to take a break first before we dig into this? Right.
President Rosario, just also let you know that we do have 2 public comments
Okay.
for the public hearing.
Okay, let's
We could take a break.
let's hear the comments and then we'll take a little break.
Okay. Christopher Newey and Meadow Darcy. I don't know if you had comments on this item. Meadow?
I wasn't sure who you wanted to go first.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess
Whoever
it's me.
spoke first.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. So I wanted to say, sorry, I'm going to introduce myself again. My name is Meadow Darcy. Chief Steward for ASME Local 2428. Thank you for taking my comment, President Rosario and members of the board. I wanted to make a comment on the budget. Every year we get a look at some of the positions that are added to the budget, and AFSCME takes a look at those and asks the district to meet and confer if there are any that we believe are in our bargaining unit, or if there's any job descriptions that need to be discussed further, or any salary replacement issues, et cetera. And this process is often, let's see, rocky, this is going to say, and sometimes we don't get the information until a little bit later in the year, which makes us sometimes have to come to the dais to talk about concerns we have with positions. I will say that we had a couple of concerns with some positions. One was the administrative analyst in the maintenance department that was, as Deborah mentioned, changed to a contract encroachment permit supervisor. I want to thank Robert Kennedy and Jim O'Connor and Allison for working very hard with the union to come to a great conclusion on that. So wanted to report that good news. We also had concerns about the small trails crew was listed as a park supervisor 1, and we had concerns about that being a park supervisor 1, that it should have its own job description. And again, I'd like to thank Jim O'Connor and Allison. Just this afternoon, we were speaking about that, trying to get those issues resolved. So I have confidence that that will move forward. And then lastly, there were 2 management analyst positions that were being added to the budget that we do still have concerns on. We do believe that those 2 positions are doing the work of admin analyst 2s, and the descriptions that we've been given, actually we've only been given descriptions on one of them. We have not been given descriptions on the risk department 1, but we do believe that those are both within our bargaining unit. I did have some conversations at the last few hours with Deputy General Manager Alvarez, and she has assured me that we will continue those conversations. But I wanted the board to be aware, we do still have very big concerns about those being bargaining unit work, and making sure that we don't have managers in positions that are not doing confidential work, that are simply doing bargaining unit work. And we want to continue to advocate for that. So we're just asking that you follow along with us and make sure that this follows all the way through up into the filling of those positions. So thank you.
Thank you, Meadow. Chris Newey.
Not sure where he went.
Yeah, I do not see him anymore, so.
Might have dropped out.
Yeah, maybe he dropped off. All right, those were all of the comments.
Great. Appreciate the comments, Meadow, and thanks staff for continuing to negotiate those talking points. So thank you. We'll keep an eye on those as well. So let's 10-minute break, and then we'll be back. All right, thank you.
Okay, there you go. You are live.
Great, thank you. If there are no other public comments, then we can close the public hearing. And public hearing is closed. Thank you. Okay, and now comments from the board on the budget. Is that correct? I think I'm going to start with Director Corbett. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I appreciate the presentation tonight. I sit on the finance committee and had the opportunity to ask questions at that time. So I'll move it on to the next director.
Great.
Thank you.
Director Wieskamp.
You know, I am always so impressed by how our finance staff pulls things together. Last year was a pretty tough year. This year we've rebounded, and you saw that in the budget. What I really like is all of staff getting involved and saying what is the best combination of expenditures that benefit the district. And as usual, you've done a terrific job. It is, I think this park district should be very, very proud of themselves and how it's demonstrated in the finance department. Splendid job. I'm looking forward to seeing that money being spent in a very wise fashion. So thank you all.
Thank you. Director Lane.
Oh, thank you. The advantage in being on the Finance Committee is one that you do have a chance to spend time on it. It's come to the directly to the committee twice, and I have a chance to make my list of questions and received answers for just about all of them. I guess the one, it's not really a question, but the one suggestion I have for next year is that I would like us to spend a little time on our land bank properties and maybe put together something that is a list of those land bank properties and how long they have been land banked. One of the properties that I am most concerned about is the northern part of Las Trampas and that access from Moraga. That property has been there for some time and in land bank, and we are not noticing as people come over the fence and do hike in that property. But we do have an opportunity to have an actual access, and I'd like us to address that next year. I would really appreciate it. And then beyond that, I want to thank Deborah and all of the staff who have worked on this all year. I know it's quite a feat, especially when there are so many projects and so many things that call out to be addressed with funding and staff. So I don't have any additional questions because you did so well at answering the ones I gave you. So thank you for that. And thank you for your work all year to produce this.
Great, thank you. And we come to the dais. I'll go with Director Coffey. And then we'll go boom, 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 boom.
Okay, thank you, President Rosario. A couple of questions. The first one's easy, I think. It's how do I approach management if I have a question concerning more details on any of these projects? Who do I go to?
Thank you, Director Coffey. You can email me directly and I will figure out who is best to answer your questions and get you a response.
Because it's ultimately going to be operational and
yes, you can direct
from
and,
different people.
Our clerk of the board likes to be CC'd on any emails that are sent out. So if you'd like to email me and CC Yolanda, we can get you your answers.
And the other question is the one I ask every year, and it is the preface to it this year is I'm learning better how to figure this stuff out, or it's better presented in the project budget. And that is the degree to which we are using other people's money, as we fondly refer to state, federal, regional funding sources for these projects. And I've always been curious if there is a summary of that somewhere in the budget, or is it something we would want to know in some separate fashion, so that when I want to look back on 2021 and see how much we actually funded projects from these other sources, how much was that? Because I don't get a sense of that from the overall budget unless, and I think you answered me that you don't do this because we don't know until sometime after a project is done what third-party money has come into the project. So there isn't a way for me to know what the total budget impact of the park district is, except for that study we had that group do, which is very useful. But I don't know how much of our budget is these third-party sources, and that's what I want to be able, either at budget time see estimates or retroactively, one chunk of our total budgetary expenditures include using other people's
Yes.
money.
Thank you for that question, Director Coffey. And you are always challenging us to report on that in a more clear way. I think during our board workshop, number 3, we try to provide some of that information. Now, in this volume 2 budget document, we do list out budgets by funding source, but they're not summarized in any way. So maybe we
That's what I
can.
noticed. You're doing that
So
now.
we can put together a
That's helpful.
summary, and these are the things where we've already appropriated special funds or we've received a grant agreement. So you're right, there might be things in the hopper that are not part of this budget. And but so first of all, we do have some data. We have a way to get it out of our financial system. And so maybe the finance team can present a few options to you of to see if we can come up with something that's useful to the board. So we'll work on that. And then the other question that you've asked in the past, and I think you're asking, is how do we know what grant funding is out there, but not yet in the book? And we are going to start working on what we're calling more of a capital improvement program, where we will list out a little bit more of the unfunded balances of projects. We do list that in our project budget once we've identified it, but we don't really go into detail about where we think the money's coming from. So we'll be able to figure out the projects that are coming in the next 3 to 5 years and give a little more detail about that. So we're going to work on that as a new project during the year to expand the information on the projects that are, that are coming up and prioritizing. Does that help?
That helps a lot. And I also want to join in the voicing of appreciation for all the work you and your team do throughout the year to put a budget together. And also just want to congratulate the organization on a whole for what, is not lost on me or I think any of our colleagues. This is a very successful financial budget you're presenting. And in compared to public sector generally, we're doing very well. And I think that's an overall organizational effort represented by our entire workforce and everyone in management and all the people we work with. So congratulations on that front.
I really owe it to the board of directors being so, fiscally responsible. It really is. Historically, this board has really focused on being fiscally responsible. So it's very helpful to us.
Well, first I'd like to say thanks to staff for all their hard work, like everyone else has. Specifically, I love the idea and how it's described, how this starts in, when does it start, July or June, how it comes from the bottom up. And I love that, the way that works, because it's seems so right to do it that way. And I want to thank everybody who participated. And I know everybody participated. And I know it's a really, really hard, must be really, really hard at the final stage to see who gets this and who gets that. But I sure appreciate you doing it. I'd also like to thank the Finance Committee for all their great work and their guidance throughout this process. I don't have any questions. I had many questions and some of them were answered by staff, but it's funny when I read this book, I'm getting, after all these years, after 7 years, I start reading the preambles to everything that you write and I go, oh my God, what's this, what's that? But if you go 2 pages back, the explanations are all there and I go, geez, why didn't I read? So I thank you for the clarity of this document. I'd also like to thank the property taxpayers of Alameda and Contra Costa County. We dodge a bullet all the time, and we keep seeming to have selling property for a lot more, and I sure appreciate that. I think this budget document allows us to open new parklands. It addresses vegetation and fuels management, which I'm very happy about. I'm ecstatic that we're going to expand the fuels crew. We've talked about a small trails crew since I think Dee and I probably talked about it 40 years ago. And it's great that it's coming to fruition. I'm very, very happy that we're able to, fully fund or almost fully fund the major infrastructure repair and replacement fund. I think we finally dealt with the issue. I'm very happy that we've got 36.8 new positions. We dealing with the OPEB trust and the pension trust. I just think we're doing great work for the public, and I truly appreciate it. This is not a criticism. It's only a request. I just hope there's some way we can prioritize the 36.8 new positions. I know we say we've got 925 point some employees. I don't know how far we're under that. I don't care to know tonight. I know if we have a vacancy rate of 4%, I still bet we beat that. I think when we put out that we're going to hire 36.8 people, there's a need for that. Those people made the grade, they made the cut. There were lots of requests. I sure hope we can just emphasize and prioritize hiring these people, because there's nothing, well, I don't use the word heartbreaking, but it sure is a letdown when you know you need more people to do this essential work. And I don't want to use the word muddled, but I know there's more work than there are people to do it, but I hope we can prioritize hiring the folks we said we were going to hire. That's my statement. But thank you very much.
We look forward to working with you on the Finance Committee next year as well.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. I also had an opportunity to. Oh, I wasn't pushing the button hard enough. Okay. All right, well, thanks very much. I also had an opportunity to review and comment on the budget in the Finance Committee, and so I will keep my remarks short right now. But I do want to acknowledge all of our staff for their involvement in this process and the months and months of work that went into it. It's an excellent document, as others have said, and it's an excellent budget. It does a great job of reflecting our priorities and the work that we need to do going forward. And, particularly pleased that we're making up for last year, so to speak, in terms of adding new staff. And of course, our staff has been working extremely hard during COVID with both more visitors and more requirements and all of the challenges. So I'm glad that we're able to add folks and also to help with the new park openings that are coming. And as Director Wasby already mentioned, the fuels crew and the small trails crew, and of course the new public safety positions as well. So all of those and all the other ones that I'm not going to mention in the interest of time, all of them are so critical. So I'm really grateful that with the strong revenue forecast, and so thank you, Alameda County and Contra Costa County taxpayers for that, for continuing to buy more and more expensive houses, I guess, and allow us to continue. And also with the best practices that staff has adopted this year, we really have a very robust budget. And I believe it will allow us to accomplish our priorities in 2022. So thank you very much.
My turn. And, Deborah, I never received answers on that I submitted. So. Oh, okay. They are. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to just ask a couple of questions just for, because I think it's important. I think the budget document is definitely a place where it's the heart of the park district. And if it's not in the budget, it didn't happen. So around diversity, I have a couple of questions about, we have on page 8, we're showing changing population. Now that we have the current data sets, the census data, can't we insert that into the
Yes.
new budget?
The first section of our budget, we will make sure all the demographic information is the most current.
Okay.
And so we will update that. And I know in your questions, you had some definitions that you would like provided.
Yes.
I think we can add some definitions to the glossary. There may be some things that we want to work with our DEI team to make sure that we have the definitions for underrepresented and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to understand what underrepresented, when we say underrepresented, what does that mean?
Correct.
And what parameters are we using? And I think it's very important for our public to know what we're using. And then on that performance chart,
Yes.
if we could add the word diverse in front of workforce to show, just to show our
Correct.
commitment to
Yes.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, that would be great.
We've heard you say that, and I did try to add in the staff report that we were going to make that edit to state attract and retain a diverse workforce of excellence.
Great, thank you. And then just a question for public safety. They had it says they're going to have 15 bicycle deployments. Does that mean one-time patrols, or are they going to be ongoing deployments?
I have a detailed written.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Director Rosario. Anthony Chavarro, your AGM of Public Safety and your Chief of Police. A deployment is when we use the bicycle. So that could be, for example, when I'm thinking back to when we dedicated the shoreline in Pittsburgh, we had officers out there. That would be a deployment. Today, we had 2 officers working at Lake Chabot, and they decided to take the initiative to check out bicycles and patrol the East Shore Trail. So that would be counted as a deployment.
And then while I have you, I had questions about why there's no numbers for previous years for the CALIA certification. Isn't that an annual certification?
Changing locations, but it is an annual certification. However, at the same time, they pick certain categories that each year they will audit. And then at the larger cycle, on the 4-year cycle, is when we look at the large number.
Okay, great. And then, good, thank you. Yeah, I'll look at my, because I didn't see it.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I just wanted to make another comment on the HR percentage for completed performance appraisals. 63% that is a really low bar, and we are doing a disservice to our employees. And I really think because employees need those annual assessments of their work, and I just don't.
Director Azari, we're going to implement a portion of our HR software that's going to help us to track and manage those evaluations.
Great, thank you.
Part of our goals.
And then what else can I? And one of my biggest things is data collection and how we are servicing our public. It's extremely important that we collect those and I was wondering, because we had a FOIA request asking for numbers, and I was wondering why we can't use that in this document as an example or as an appendix.
Assistant General Manager O'Connor. Answer.
Jim O'Connor again, your AGM of Operations. So Director Rosari, I don't think I got into that document, but I did send an answer to this question. So at the direction of Dr. Alvarez, we have initiated some data collection around you're talking about our programming, yes. I'm going to guess. Yeah. So we have initiated that through our ActiveNet system, which is the program registration system. So we're doing some data collection through that. We're also using existing funds. We're going to hire a consultant, do an RFI, RFP, and hire a consultant that's going to help us develop some tools that'll also further our data collection around demographics in our programming, both interpretive recreation services. So we're in play on that. And my hope is that we're going to have an annual report every year on that work, starting at the end of 2022, our initial report.
Great, that's good to hear. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And then, and I think that highlights a lot of the questions I had. I just want to let you know, congratulate your staff on this incredible amount of work. And you're still the naturalist for the finance. You get to keep that term. I coined that term and get to keep it. And I attended, I watched the last finance committee meeting on YouTube, and then I attended the PAC presentation and I attended the employee presentation, and I learned something from each. And I would highly encourage my fellow colleagues on the board to attend the presentation to the employees, because you get some really interesting questions and different perspectives. And also you get to hear from some of the chiefs and supervisors actually in charge of some of those projects. So I found it very, very good from my perspective anyway. And I just wanted to thank you, especially that outreach to the employees, I think is incredible.
Very good turnout. More people
Yeah.
joined that meeting than ever before. So there was a lot of interest.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
And then there's no action requested today,
Yep.
and we'll be back to answer any further questions or receive any comments and request adoption of the budget at the next meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so much. Okay. That brings us to item number 3B. Ordinance on the Board of Directors, East Bay Regional Park District, providing for an increase in board member compensation from $105 up to $115.50 for each day's attendance at a compensable meeting of the board. District Council.
So President Rosario, Carol Victor, District Council. So this item, we came before the board, I want to say February of this year, earlier this year, for the board to get direction from the board on terms of whether board compensation should be increased. Under the law, the board is allowed to increase compensation by 5% each calendar year by following the procedures that are set forth in the water code. This law was adopted in 2019. Prior to the change in law, the board's compensation had been at $100 per compensable meeting, up to 10 meetings per month since the late 1980s. So it had been 30 years since you had gotten any increase in compensation. In 2019, the board, I think it was in 2019, yes, the board brought forward a $5 increase. And because it's been 2 years since your last increase, you can increase compensation up to 10%. So the board had asked when we brought it for discussion earlier, wanted some historical information on the wage increases that have been received by management, AFSCME represented employees and the police association. So we have provided that information, and basically raises for other staff in the agency has been between 5.5% to 6% for the sworn and non-sworn PA members. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board. One suggestion I will make is, for whatever reason, and I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician, but the numbers, if you do like a 5.5%, you get some odd numbers. It's much easier to round up or round down, and then we'll calculate the percentage afterwards. So my suggestion is to adopt a whole number.
Thank you for the suggestion. Questions from the board? Director Waspy?
Interesting. I have a couple of feelings on this.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, pardon me. You're right. I haven't turned on my mic. I apologize.
Good.
I'm nervous about what I'm going to say. Anyway, I've always felt that we should get what the lowest working group gets. It looks like 5.5%. This would represent 10%, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
5.5% would be, 5.5% would raise it to.
Right, 110,775, and I'm right. Yeah, and just being a stickler, I know this means nothing other than just my opinion that I've had for all my life. I would, it doesn't matter to me, but I will be voting not in favor of this 10% raise. I would suggest what the AFSCME got or any of the lowest groups, I think. And I think we deserve it, obviously. And if we were going to do it, I'd like to say us go, because it doesn't mean anything, obviously, to 110 as opposed to 111, just because then we'd be lower than just for some reason. I don't know why. But what I'd also like to do is we keep going through this crazy stuff, and I go through these emotional, weird, whatever it is, windmill jousting. Can't we just put it on the consent calendar every year that on January 1st or whenever, we're going to get the same raise as, say, the lowest bargaining group got, or AFSCME, which management always gets also, and unrepresented always gets. It would seem like this wouldn't come up, and it's not I know other boards do it all the time. It's just on the consent calendar, 5% every year.
So, President Waspy, so one, we don't want to too closely tie board compensation to contracts that are labor unions negotiate, just because we don't want anybody to make an argument, no matter how attenuated, that the board is interested in, the board has a financial interest in wages for its members. So, and then with regard to the consent calendar, the procedures that were required, this is compensation for boards is an area where the legislature wants a lot of transparency. So actually we've had to notice this. We've had to publish twice in the newspaper. And then once the board adopts it, we'll have to publish it again in the newspaper. So it is something that does require a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Director Coffey.
I agree completely with Dennis and would also support 110 for the same reasons.
Director Wieskamp.
I guess this comes from a long experience serving on a variety of city council and other park district and so on. I think 110 is fine. I think the main reason you try to keep raising it is not for a lot of us who do not use this as important salary, but sometimes there are people who have to attend the meeting who are younger, have children, and have to pay someone to watch their kids. So I think it helps cover incidental expenses for some people who serve on boards, but 110 is fine as far as I'm concerned.
Director Lane? No comments? Director Corbett, is she still on? Yeah, there she is.
Yes, I'm here. I have no comments except for to say that, I think it should be realized that all board members don't do 10 meetings a month. And board members do put in lots and lots of hours for their positions because we love our jobs. And I understand what Director Coffey and Waspy said, but again, our salaries are a lot lower than most of our employees. And that's the way it should be. But I think 115 is not an outrageous number to ask for, but we'll see how this goes.
Elizabeth? Okay. Yeah, I agree with the Director Wieskamp. I mean, we have to look towards future board members, potential of getting more board members that actually have to make sacrifice to come to board meetings, and we're hoping to attract younger board members at some point. Yes, and we hear most of us are retired or close to retiring, and it really is a hardship on board members that do have to work. And I think if we want to attract a diverse and smart board members, I think compensation, increased compensation is a must. And $115 is not very much money. And so I would be in favor of the original motion. So go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody's comments. I feel like if we are serious about attracting, younger people who aren't already retired or don't have to work or raise kids at the same time as doing this, what is almost a full-time job at the Park District, you would have to restructure the wages altogether, because, the difference between whether we get paid $110 for a qualified meeting or $115, that's not going to be enough. That's like, what are we talking about? If they attend 10 meetings in a month, that's $50, So, I guess the point is you'd really have to, I appreciate the points, but I think you'd have to really restructure it much more than that in order to attract folks who could actually afford to do this and raise a family at the same time. I mean, I'm certainly, this meeting is a big net loss for me in terms of after paying my babysitter. So, I'm just saying, I don't mind. I love my job. I'm in a position that I can afford it. So, it's all good. But anyway, I just felt like that needed to be said.
So with Director Wieskamp.
I always have said in every position I've been in that my husband subsidized my desire to submit public service by earning enough money that it wasn't important. These days, there are a lot of families that are a lot on the edge, especially younger ones. And $5 may not seem much, $50 may not seem much to me, but I do think it's useful. I will support either 110 or 115. I just think it might attract a few more people that at least we're showing we care about them and the service they're giving.
Thank you. So with that, is there a motion to support, to approve the ordinance as written?
President Rosario, if I may,
Yes.
the ordinance, it's actually not specific. It says up to 10%,
Okay.
which would actually be 110.50, but, or 115.50, but you could round down to just 115. So it's really up to the board to decide what that amount should be.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve at $115 even? I see Director Wieskamp.
Absolutely.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second one from Director Lane. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
President Rosario. Director Eccles,
No.
Director Coffey,
No.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
No.
and who did I miss?
Me,
Director Wieskamp.
I vote aye.
4-3, the $115 carries.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion.
Yeah, and that's, we'll calculate the percentage, but it's less than 10%.
Okay,
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
I think that's the first ununanimous vote we've had in a while, huh?
Isn't it amazing, this board?
Over huge sums of money.
Item number 4, acquisition, stewardship, and development. Authorization to award a construction contract to EF Brett and Company Incorporated and appropriate funds, and authorization for direct payments for permits and utilities and associated agreements for the renovation of Roberts Pool Project, Roberts Regional Recreation Area. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Director Rosario, Board of Directors. My name is Lisa Gorgon. I'm the Chief of Design and Construction. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a long night, but we're super excited. I have the pleasure of introducing this item on behalf of the whole project team to award a construction contract for the Roberts Pool and facility renovation. The project team, I'm just standing here and Toby, the project manager, is going to come up, but it includes park operations, aquatics, public affairs, business services, and grants and government affairs. So as with all of our projects, it's really a collaborative process. So the purpose of the project, I do want to just mention, it really is broader than renovating just the pool. The pool and facilities are aging and inadequate to serve both the staff and the public. The entire facility, meaning the pool and the supporting buildings, are in dire need, or in need of, I don't mean to be dramatic, but they're in need of renovation. Roberts Pool is an extremely popular regional amenity. The Park District has a goal of outreach and teaching children how to swim, both as a recreational and a public health service. Drowning is the second leading cause of accidental death for children 1 to 14. As municipal pools and swim education become a thing of the past, the East Bay Regional Park District has a critical role to play. So it's been a year since we were here. We were here virtually last December before the board to authorize the execution of a construction management firm. So we've done a lot of work since then. And I'm going to turn it over now to Toby Perry, the project manager, to walk us through this presentation.
Share the presentation. We break into a little dance for you all.
This reminds me when I first became a supervisor and we got our first computers, and WWW standard for wide world wait. I would take my guitar and play a couple songs in between, while I'm searching. Those were the dial-up days.
All right. Thanks, Lisa, for the introduction. Good evening. Nice to see you all. Thank you, Board Chair Rosario, board members, and General Manager Landreth, members of the public, for the opportunity to talk with you tonight about the development of our Roberts Pool project at Roberts Regional Recreation Area. I'm Toby Perry, project manager in the Design and Construction Department. I'm excited to be bringing this action before you tonight because, as Lisa said, it represents the culmination of a lot of planning and design work done by district staff and our great consultants. As Lisa said, we were here before you a year ago to award construction management contract. And then since that time, we've been working with them and our architect to finalize our plans and acquire our construction permits. So here in front of you, you can see a rendering of what our Roberts Pool facility will look like once the work is complete and the pool is open. I recall that when we came to you a year ago to provide an update on this, Director Lane said to make it beautiful. And I hope that with this rendering, you can see that we've tried to do just that. There we go. All right, the anticipation. All right, so the action before you today is for authorization to award a construction contract with EF Brett and Company and to transfer and appropriate funds for the Renovate Roberts Pool project. The image you can see there on the right was taken about a month and a half ago during our pre-construction bid walk. In the background there, you can see our pool house, our existing pool house and entry kiosk, both of which will be replaced as part of this project. So as I'm sure most of you are aware, Roberts Pool, our Roberts Recreation Area sits within the Oakland Hills along Skyline Boulevard. In the image on the right, you can see in the yellow area there is our project location. The pool facility sits in the northwest corner of the park near the main parking lot and the all-access playground. So the project was first identified in 2008 as part of our Measure WW commitment. The facility was built in the 1950s, and as Lisa said, the infrastructure is beginning to fail. The district is seeking to expand the capacity of the pool to allow for increased use of the facility by the public. And the project is a real benefit to regional public health, as it will allow the district to better address water safety training. And then lastly, the district has secured $2.9 million in grant funds that have made this project possible. Those funds represent approximately a quarter of the total project budget, which is approximately $11 million. On the right here, you can see in plan view the improvements proposed for this project. First, as part of this project, we'll be demoing the existing pool, the pool deck, and all the buildings. The new pool will be approximately 5,600 square feet, which is twice as large as the current pool. Site improvements will include a new pool deck, retaining walls, planting, irrigation, a new entry kiosk, fences, gates, and ADA code compliant parking. We'll construct a new public changing room with restrooms and a new office space for lifeguard services and park operations. And then lastly, we'll construct a new mechanical building for the pool's mechanical equipment and chlorine treatment, which is consistent with the way in which we treat all of our other pool facilities. The Park District advertised the construction contract back on October 7th, and on November 10th, we received our bids. The project was advertised in 13 plan rooms, in addition to advertising in the Daily Pacific Builder and BP Express. We received 5 bids in EF Brett and Company with a bid amount of $8,085,000 was the lowest responsive bidder. You'll notice in the bottom right there that the engineer's estimate was $8.25 million. So EF Brett's bid came in just under that. So just to reiterate what's in the budget information that's in your packet. As part of the action today, we're seeking to transfer $3 million from the Aquatic Facilities Improvements Fund and $3.8 million from the Major Infrastructure Renovation and Replacement Fund into the project budget. These funds are in combination with existing project funds that include the WW funds and the $2.9 million in grant funds from State Parks Per Capita and Prop 68. So with regard to schedule, after awarding the construction contract this month, hopefully, we'll intend to start construction by February. Construction will continue through all of next year into the first half of 2023. As was mentioned, we have a large project team involved in keeping this project moving forward. And we've been working with them to develop a communication plan to keep all of our stakeholders aware of the project as it moves forward. And then we fully expect construction to be complete such that we can open the new facility in time for the beginning of swim season in 2023. So with that, again, the action before you today is for authorization to award a construction contract with EF Brett and Company and to transfer and appropriate funds for the Renovate Roberts Pool project. Thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you. Questions from the board? Can't see my peeps Oh. Any questions from the board? Director Waspy.
Well, thanks, Toby. This looks like a wonderful project, long awaited. I worked at Roberts Park in 1976 and it needed work then. But I look forward to this. I think this is what we really need, and it's what our mission was. And I think our mission of bringing water activities to the city is this is perfect. Pools are closing down in Oakland, and this is just great. Couple of things. So am I reading correctly, or what is, so the project will begin in winter of 2022 and continue through spring of 2023. So is there going to be a loss? There's no loss of a swim season then?
No, so there will be, yes, all of 2022 swim season will be lost. So winter, I guess it depends on.
Winter's December 21st. Come on, man.
Yes, no, February of this 2022. February 2022.
Oh, that winter. Okay. Darn.
We
That's a
can't go back
shame.
in time.
That's a shame. So I hope there's an emphasis on getting Temescal open so we don't abandon everything in Oakland, swimming wise. Hi,
Yes.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Gorgon, Chief of Design and Construction. We are aware of the pool closure. And so as part of our project team, we've been working, actually, since we initiated this, with reservations to give folks who regularly use the pool a heads up that this is coming. And we're working with the public affairs to try to redirect folks to other places. So I'm glad you brought that up. We know that closing it for a season is a big deal. And so we're trying to proactively let our users know, so.
And, that's a good reminder. I'll just add to that, in order to minimize impacts to the park in whole, we've developed a staging and construction plan that will allow the all-access playground to remain open for almost the entire duration of the project.
So, and as a follow-up, geez, I hate to see lost pool time. And so they plan on getting back together for the later part of the 2023 summer season. That, you guys know, that doesn't happen that often. Do you guys have any liquidated damage deals in the contract? I mean,
Absolutely.
do they have to perform?
Yeah, absolutely. In answer to the latter part of your question. And then just to clarify, the pool should be open for the start of the swim season in 2023. So really, we're just talking about the swim season, the summer swim season 2022.
Okay, great. Thank you. And does it ever, I'm amazed. Has EF Brett ever worked for the district before?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. But CWS Construction has, and I'm wondering, and I know that you guys are limited by the law and lowest responsive bidder, but I'm looking at these bids, and the first three are all within, I think, 1% of one another or less. Just a comment. That's yeah, cool. Thanks.
Regarding
a question.
the pool closure, is there, I mean, I know Pete DeQuincy approached the city of Oakland, and I don't know what transpired there, but is there an opportunity to just rent one pool for a season to do our programs?
Thank you for the question, President Rosario. We actually are in the process right now of looking at what our projected staffing is going to be for our lifeguards next summer, and then looking at our swim facilities, what we think and hope will be open again, and what we think realistically is not going to be open, and looking at all options so that we can try to maximize the number of swim facilities within the East Bay.
Yeah.
So we'll bring you more information, but we just started that process.
Okay, great. Because I know Live Oak Pool at Oakland High School, I think is underutilized, and the same with the Lions Pool at Diamond Park. Doesn't seem to get that much use either, other than Master Swim in the morning. It lies idle the rest of the day. So if we can do our programs for the city for the residents of the city that normally use Roberts, that would be great. And then we don't know what's going to happen with the drought and blue-green algae at Lake Temescal and Shadow Cliffs. So any pool time that we can, or water time that we can afford our constituents, the better. So, thank you. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this project. It's long awaited, and congratulations on getting a contractor. So, excellent. With that,
Director
I have a comment too.
Director Lane, yes, please.
Director Corbett.
Yeah, well, I thought that I have a couple of things. One is that this was really an excellent engineer's estimate to have three different businesses be able to come right there at that sweet spot. So, I'm assuming that Brett can do this. And then my second comment really is to agree with Director Rosario, because I think if we could rent a pool and continue doing some of our water programs when it's closed that year, that would be a really creative way to address getting people into the water while this is being built, and also an unusual partnership that we ought to be capable of managing. So I think that would be just really an excellent idea. And it does look pretty handsome, Toby. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments?
Yes.
Director Corbett, please.
Yes, thank you. It does look wonderful, and as someone who used to swim there many, many, many years ago, it looks wonderful. I had same sort of question that actually Director Rosario already spoke to. I hope we do have an opportunity to continue to teach swimming lessons somewhere, if we borrow or rent a facility. And I think this also may create an opportunity for us to the work we do with the sailing folks that work out of our park, one of the issues they have is they can't always bring in students from the nearby neighborhoods because they haven't had swimming lessons. So this gives us an opportunity to find a pool closer to their area. It would be wonderful because it also gives them the ability to increase the diversity of the students they're bringing for sailing lessons, which is an issue which needs to be addressed. And we've heard that they're working towards that. But I too would be very supportive of us finding another place to teach swimming lessons if we could. And in that neighborhood near the sailing lessons, that would be wonderful. So thank you. Those are my comments.
Great, thank you. Seeing no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Why don't we kick it back to you?
Okay, since that's in my ward, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Director Eccles. Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Yes, President Rosario. Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Coffee,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
and President Rosario.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Director Waspy. Just making sure you're paying attention.
Thank you very much.
It's a unanimous approval.
That brings us to item number 5, General Manager's comments.
Just one brief update on actions taken by other jurisdictions. Sorry, I'm just jumping to number 6. Number 5, we don't have any presentations tonight. On November 15th, 2021, the Albany City Council directed staff not to seek renewal of the 5-year MOU with the Park District for management of the city-owned portion of the Albany waterfront. The Albany City Council instead recommended staff to establish policy principles for inclusion of the property into their parks, recreation, and open space master plan. This will enable the lands to remain a municipal park with the city rather than becoming incorporated into McLaughlin East Shore State Park. The city instead will seek to foster collaborative relationships of mutual interest with the Park District. And that's my only update tonight. Thanks.
Am I understanding this incorrectly? So we improved it, made it a beautiful place, and they take it back now? And even if it's not their land, I understand they owned the bulb, but the whole entryway, the parking, and Albany Beach is ours, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Christina, is your staff here? They might have some more information about this.
Hi, good afternoon, good
Yeah.
evening.
Brian Holt.
Brian Holt, Chief of Planning, Trails and GIS. My understanding, Director Waspy, was we originally negotiated an MOU regarding the Park District taking over the Albany Bowl. So that's the city-owned portion. So this doesn't apply to the areas that we operate and that we've improved. This only applies to the bowl area of Albany.
But we improved that whole stretch going out the bulb.
Not the neck. It does not apply to the neck.
Oh,
It only
okay.
applies to the bowl.
We do some anatomical stuff. You got a neck and a bulb. Okay, here's the neck.
I'd be happy to follow up with you as well, as we do, as we look at the MOU that was negotiated before and the transition plan and this action. But my understanding is that it does apply to the bulb, and I think in general relieves us of some tricky cleanup sort of issues out at the bulb area.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I actually think it's a good thing. Yeah, when you go out there, you'll see it. There's when you go out the trail walking towards the bulb, you see a demarcation line that says district property versus city property, and I think it's a good thing actually.
Yeah, and I think it's very positive too, because I think in the past we've had the impression that Albany is trying to retreat from any responsibility for the bulb and to pass it to somebody else. And here they're standing up and saying it's ours and we need to manage it. So it sounds like it has real possibilities for being positive from our vantage point.
And then that brings us to announcements from closed session.
There are no announcements from closed session.
Thank you. And then our favorite place, board committee reports. I'm going to start with the folks that are on Zoom. Director Corbett.
Hello. I only have 2 meetings to discuss. Had an opportunity to be part of the Finance Committee at the end of November. And as I already mentioned, we had a great opportunity to review the documents and hear from some of the folks that, not only our staff, but some of the other folks that help us with the information that helps us come up with a wonderful budget. So I attended that. And then the Operations Committee, which was held on November 30th, I attended that as well. And that's really all I have to say, but I do want to say something else. I want to just express how much I appreciate our attorney, Carol. I'm sorry I couldn't be there earlier for your cake, but you have done such a wonderful and amazing job for us here at the Park District. We're going to miss you a lot. I hope we'll still have an opportunity to see you from time to time, but I just want to thank you for your inspiration as a very serious, hardworking person who was never afraid to take on challenges. And also, you definitely spent so much time making sure that we did the right things. So thank you so much. So appreciate your work.
Thank you, Director Corbett, very much. I appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Director Wieskamp.
Oh, operations meeting, I don't think I have anything to add. As usual, it runs very efficiently, unless somebody has a question.
Well, then I think he's doing board comments now too. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're doing board comments?
Yes, I skipped.
Okay, well, you're a chair, so we'll let you do whatever you want to. Come on.
You haven't skipped, it's just the next thing, President Rosario.
Yeah, no,
Okay, in the meetings list on November 5th, there was a really interesting field trip to Tyler Ranch. I think we got some interesting input on a variety of subjects, not only on Tyler, but also on the proposed trail that the county has been working on. And some of that has been in the newspaper also, the comments I heard at that day. The 10th was the Alameda County Special District Association. On the 15th, I got an update on Mission Peak and some of the issues. On the 16th was the board meeting. The 18th was a LAFCO meeting. The 29th was a conversation with Dublin Mayor about the Tasahara Trail. And I think we're all in agreement that that's going to be an important connection. We all supported that. The 30th was the operations meeting. And December 3rd was the legislative meeting with Eric's staff talking about a different format for the meeting that's just coming up. Last item, I'd like to talk just a little bit about my daughter-in-law and I decided that the appropriate thing to honor my son, who we lost in October, was to do something at Brushy Peak, which was popular with my husband, myself, my son, and all of his friends. And so I checked with Chris Lyle, and Brushy Peak is part of his territory. And he suggested that if there's one thing that Brushy Peak can always use, it's more shade. So we're going to propose that those are interested in helping on that cause to plant probably oaks, but I suggested to Chris that he talk to stewardship about the best ones to add. And that's all I have. Thank you.
that's great. For those of that want to help contribute, you can you can make a contribution to that fund through the Regional Parks Foundation. So I'm glad that's going through.
Thank you.
Director Lane.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, in the last couple plus weeks, I had a one-on-one with our general manager, and this was the one where we went to Bear Creek, and it rained on us a little bit, and we got a little, experience seeing archers going back and forth, being able to unlock the gate and just go in, and a few other things. And so it was a really, I really appreciate these one-on-one discussions. Then I did have a chance to go to what was a special and little political event where they announced the fact that the fourth bore is going to be called for Congresswoman Tosher. And I'd always thought of the fourth bore, since so much of the funding was funding from the Obama administration, as the Obama bore. But the sign is up now, and it will be the Tosher bore. And it reminded me about how much I was missing going to some of these meetings, because I had a chance to see lots of people on councils in Contra Costa, transportation people, and then in walked Dianne Feinstein and Hillary Clinton, and I just had a really good time at that. Okay, then we had Finance Committee. I went to Mayor's Conference this last week, where they are talking about the Promises program, in which they support minority and needy students in a long-term process that supports them through high school, through college, and in finding jobs. And it was really a very interesting one. And it's one which Mayor Butt in Richmond has been involved for some time. It was very interesting to hear about that. And then I did take a little walk on the Lafayette Moraga Trail. And while I was there, I thought, oh, I think I have to go up and see what's up with the McCosker renovation. And of course, it's closed for the winter. But I went and gave it a little look, and so I'm really looking forward to it being concluded next year, and having the new East Portal access. And then this morning, with some of our staff, including planning staff and Matt Moore from Las Trampas, I went on a tour of the laborers camp in San Ramon, which was really hosted by us for San Ramon Open Space Advisory Committee, which is a very energetic committee and really interested in supporting open space. So we had a chance to go in there and drive around in one of the loop trails that I had never seen before. And it was a little foggy with sun coming out at the end, and it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. So it was really a good opportunity to see it from a different angle, and to talk with advocates nearby who are very supportive of access into each of our parks there on the west side. And in addition, they do have some funds to perhaps help pay for some open space in partnership with the Park District. So it was a very interesting tour indeed, and very fun to have start in fog and end up with some sunlight. So thank you.
Great.
Oh, and then I did want to say thank you to Carol Victor. I'm sorry I didn't make the cake, but and remind us all that she was our general manager for a period.
Right.
And she was doing attorney and general manager, and I think she deserves a real rest.
Thank you, Director Lane. And thank you for all your support over the years.
Okay.
Great. Director Coffey.
Okay, thank you. I had my check-in meeting with the team at Government Affairs, along with the general manager, to discuss the Ledge Committee and the future of their various programs. I also watched the Finance Committee by YouTube with Director Lane, attended the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. I attended the annual, I guess that was the annual PAC meeting that we attended, and Dennis was the board's representative that evening. I did attend the field trip, which was very well organized and very helpful and informational. You would have liked the winery. I was thinking of you, Director, the whole time. That's true. My wife did buy a case. The price is, well, we won't go. And in terms of my own field trips, I did a couple. Mila and I went to Briones and looked at the Audubon Pond area in response to a constituent issue that was raised about the pond. I got a lot of help on that from staff. And Mila and I went into Wildcat this last weekend to check out that site of the proposed flow trail. It was beautiful out in Wildcat this weekend and heavily used. I hadn't ever seen Wildcat that busy as it was this past weekend. That about covers my November to December. Thank you.
Thank you. On November 20th, I attended a legislative blitz. We had a walking town hall with Bill Quirk at Coyote Hills. There were lots and lots of people there, and Bill kept commenting, boy, this is more people than we've ever had at these walking town halls. He really enjoys it. He likes the parks. He likes being there, and I think he's going to be a great advocate for us. I think we had a couple of asks. Deputy Secretary, where's Eric? Deputy Secretary is somebody we asked, and she's going to come out and talk to us about the Hayward shoreline. Oh, pardon me. Thanks, Eric.
Jennifer Norris.
Jennifer Norris, that's it. Yes. So I think these are very productive meetings, and everybody loves them. In the afternoon, we doubled down and went to the Dumbarton Quarry Campground and hosted a walk and talk for Mayor Lily May of Fremont. And her council member Rick Jones came out. It was an interesting walk and talk. Obviously, a little rough around the edges over the Fremont EBRPD lease of Mission Peak, but I think that's a great atmosphere to talk to people about it at a park. With lots of people out in the park enjoying the park and telling Mayor May what a great job she did out here. And we just kind of, yeah, we work together to do these things. Shout out to naturalist, supernaturalist, supervising naturalist, Chris Sulatz of Coyote Hills. He and his staff did a great job. They interpreted all kinds of great things out there, lots of enthusiasm. And we took a hike in Dumbarton Quarry and we showed how monarch butterflies overwinter there and the efforts of the park staff there. And I think CCC, EBCC, somebody that we affiliate with and collaborate with, we're planning stuff that they eat, milkweed and stuff like that. And so we're attracting them. And Chris had mentioned that as we keep reading the papers that the monarch butterflies are long gone. This year they've come back in mass, and you know what we need to do is provide food for them so they can thrive. And very interesting talks. Those guys really made the day really well, really good. I went and took a hike at Oyster Bay to see what was going on down there, and I was pleasantly surprised. I remember that when that place was a dump 100 years ago, and now it's boy, that's the nicest disc golf course I've ever seen in my life. Boy, it was beautiful. On November 23rd, I spoke to the Castro Valley Democratic Club. That was a great event and a lot of fun. On November 26th, I celebrated Green Friday. And I think we did a great job of publicizing that and inviting people to come out to the parks. And I know the people I talked to were very thankful that they got in for free. I had a great day in the park. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. I went to Lake Chabot and hiked, and I also went to Redwood Park and hiked. So just a beautiful, beautiful day. And on the 29th, I attended the PAC meeting. It was a little melancholy because the last time we had a real holiday event. We were on the Potomac, wasn't it? There's just this beautiful, wonderful night on the bay and everybody was having fun and it was great. And for the last 2 years, we've been looking at each other in boxes. It was a nice celebration and I was happy to be there and see those folks, even if they were on little boxes on a screen. Finally, I'd like to note retirees. Boy, I keep seeing these retirees listed. It's amazing. Ruth Middleton, who we knew for years and years and worked for the district for 29 years, is retired. Monica Kautzer, 17 years, great people. And Kat Taylor, a dear, sweet, hardworking, great asset to this park district as a, well, I think she wound up as the soup nat at the Sonoma, right? And just loved her job and 29 years for her. So these folks are leaving us and I'd like to acknowledge they're not passing, but they're going off to retirement. And Carol, thanks so much. It was a great run you had and it's great to be respected, appreciated and loved and you achieved that and you earned it. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Director Waspy.
Great, thank you. Okay, last one. Where am I? So on 11/18, I attended the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club where we heard a presentation from Sarah Yowell from PG&E. She is the community engagement person for PG&E, and they are moving all their operations to the city of Oakland, 5,000 employees. They're closing San Francisco, Concord, and San Ramon. And all their employees will, on a rotational basis, be occupying space in the city of Oakland. So if it's part of their deal to conserve money and pay out the damages for the fires caused by their equipment. And for Carol's ears, that she's looking to be engaged in the community. So we should make sure we get contact with her. And then attended the Regional Parks Foundation Annual. We had a live event there at the Drake's dealership. And great to hear the report there that the foundation is doing well and another year of another record of positive results and a great board and really good folks. And they said goodbye to some a couple of outgoing members. They'll be missed. And then attended I listened to the Finance Committee meeting on YouTube on the 29th. And then I attended the annual Park Advisory meeting. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Adele Ho, Linda Best, and Michael Gregory for their service. They're all termed out. Talk about service. They served a long time. And then I attended the budget presentation for the employees on the 30th. Like I said before, I thought it was really wonderful and good to hear different perspective. And then let's see. On the 2nd, I also attended the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. Outside of the Northern California College Promise, their DeSaulniers representative noted that there was $1 trillion in infrastructure with $4.5 billion coming to the East Bay for transportation projects. And then also there's $2 trillion in the BBB money coming down the pipe. So she was glad to make that announcement. And then also on the 2nd, another Lake Merritt Breakfast Club meeting, we had a great presentation from the Bay Area Outreach and Recreation Program from Rick Smith. He was very complimentary of the Park District and his cooperation. This organization provides free programs for disabled youth and adults. And it's amazing what they do. And hopefully we can continue to support them. And kudos to the Regional Parks Foundation for supporting that program. And then on my other hat, I volunteered, did a trail project for Friends of Sausal Creek with a couple of high school kids, and they were great. and they were local this time. And then had my pre-board of directors meeting with Sabrina and staff, and always a pleasure. It's great to work things out in advance, and I hope the next president will continue. And then on the 6th, met with the building trades with the Director Eccles, and had a nice talk. And we'll bring something up in the future. And then this afternoon I met with our new AGM of HR, Allison Cook, and Dr. Ana Alvarez, our DGM, and we talked about moving forward with our DEI, and really looking forward to that. And Allison, you have a big job ahead of you, and not just DEI, but that whole, I think there was mention in the budget, hiring positions. I mean, your department is the key, and being able to outreach and hire and promote and educate, it's a big job. And please feel free to talk to any people on the board, any of the board members, and let us know if you need something, anything, because it is a key proponent of the Park District for us to get things done. So thank you very much for being here, and I'm really looking forward to our hearing the report and moving forward with our DEI. And then we are here today. And I also wanted to make an announcement of the nomination committee. I almost forgot. We have elections for the oncoming year, and the members of the committee are Director Wieskamp, Director Corbett, and myself. And we'll be looking at president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And so we will have announced the results of our election at the next meeting.
All right.
Great. So with that, huge shout out to our recent retirees and our future retiree. Yeah, I think, if there's a possibility of getting all together, we need to have a party just to recognize our retirees during the COVID years, and it would be nice. And we invite all the retirees and actives and just have a big whoop-de-doo. So with that, thank you so much. And I believe I'll be attending the services for memorial services for Supervisor Wilma Chan tomorrow, and it should be very nice. So with that, any other comments? We are adjourned.
Oh,
Thank you.
very good.